Again, my name is Rob Keiter, and I'm hosting today's the January Wisdom Wednesday webinar. I'm also going to be presenting today on the topic of how crucial conversations for mastering dialogue can benefit school districts and parents. Just a little bit about myself. Prior to joining the staff as program director at SERC in 2019, I served as a mediator on the SERC panel of mediators beginning in 2014. And since 2014, I've been involved in providing mediations, as well as facilitating IEP meetings and facilitating resolution sessions when requested by the school and parents. And I'm part of the panel of mediators that we have here at the Special Education Resolution Center. Part of my role now as program coordinator involves overseeing the dispute resolution services that are provided by SERC, as well as overseeing stakeholder training, which includes crucial conversations for mastering dialogue. I've had the privilege, alongside other experienced trainers, in facilitating crucial conversations classes since 2015. And I say privilege because this training has and continues to have a positive impact in my professional life and interactions, and also my personal interactions with others. I mean, I've thought many times since beginning this in 2015 that I only wish I'd had this training 30 years ago and been able to take advantage of it. But you have an opportunity to take advantage of it now. So let's get right into this. There's so much that could be said about crucial conversations and the benefits that it offers families and schools. But I've just put together a few things. I'm going to share with you briefly 5 benefits to school districts and families that come from taking crucial conversations for mastering dialogue. To get into the PowerPoint here. So that's what we're talking about, how crucial conversations training can benefit school districts and families. Let me start off by just saying, what is a crucial conversation? Crucial conversations involve conversations where 3 things are happening, and they all need to be happening at the same time. First of all, there are opposing opinions. Secondly, high stakes involved in the conversation. And finally, strong emotions. I mean, you may be having a conversation with someone where there are opposing opinions, but if there aren't high stakes and strong emotions involved, it's not really a crucial conversation. So we're talking about these difficult conversations where you've got opposing opinions, you have high stakes involved in the outcome of the conversation, and there are strong emotions involved. The first benefit that I see from crucial conversations for mastering dialogue is that you learn how to share what's important to you in a way that leads to dialogue. I mean, dialogue is the goal in crucial conversations. And dialogue isn't just where we're talking to someone for sure, or talking at someone. It's where we're talking with someone. It's a conversation where there's an exchange of information from both parties. We're listening to each other. And so that's what's going to happen in crucial conversations. And the first thing is, you have something to share. Everyone does. And you have something to share that's really important. And it needs to be heard. And the others that are in conversation with you also have important ideas, suggestions, viewpoints that you need to hear. And so crucial conversations is about helping that conversation take place, where each person can feel comfortable to share what they need to share so that we can get all of the information possible. And it starts in crucial conversations training with each of us that are taking the course, learning how to share what we need to say in a way that leads to dialogue. There's a statement that we use. I'm not sure whether Joanne Blades came up with this or if it was someone else, but this is a powerful kind of summary of what you're learning when it comes to you being able to share what's important to you and needs to be heard by others. And it's simply how to share. How do I share what I need to say in a way that makes it easier? Not necessarily easy, because sometimes things are difficult to hear, but at least in a way that makes it easier for others to hear, understand, and respond to me. That's what you're going to learn in Crucial Conversations. Not just what to say, but how to say it, how to share in a way, what you need to say in a way that makes it easier for others to hear, understand, and respond to. And then you're going to learn how to make it safe, or that's the word that's used in Crucial Conversations, how to help others feel comfortable in sharing what they need to say with you. But it starts with us. In Crucial Conversations, we start by working on us and what we need to be able to do to have an effective conversation. And then we learn concepts and skills to help others be able to do the same thing. The second benefit that is just really important is that in Crucial Conversations training, you learn how to monitor and manage safety during conversations. And what we mean by safety is making it the environment such that people in the conversation, not just you, but others, feel comfortable in sharing what they need to share with you. And we call that safety. And here's what we know: when people don't feel safe, and that may be me, I don't feel comfortable sharing what I need to share, or it might be someone else in the conversation. When any person in a conversation doesn't feel safe or doesn't feel comfortable during that conversation, we find that they typically move away from dialogue and they move toward either what we're calling silence, or they move toward verbal violence. And so let me just talk just a little bit about that, because that's such an important part of this training. When they don't feel safe, they go to silence or verbal violence. Now, silence isn't just not talking. Silence is anything we do that ends up withholding our meaning from others. We're not able to share with them what we're really thinking and feeling and what our ideas are. So anything we do, and here's some examples. Silence, some of the early signs to look for, because again, I'm talking about the ability to monitor and manage safety during a conversation. So some of the early signs to look for when people are starting to go to silence, or maybe you're going to silence, you'll see things like this: understating true opinions. It may be sarcasm or sugarcoating, but you're not really being honest about the opinion. Using phrases like "some people think we should do this" instead of "I wonder whether we should do this" when it comes to describing opinions. A couple other examples would be when you see someone or yourself even changing the topic of discussion when sensitive subjects are brought up. You just shift over to something else to kind of get it away from that thing that you're not feeling comfortable enough to share. Or it may actually end up where you're withdrawing from conversations or relationships, or other people in the conversation are doing that. And you can tell what all of these have in common is they are the opposite, and they keep us from dialogue. And dialogue, remember, is where we're exchanging ideas, viewpoints, thoughts, suggestions. We're getting our information, and others are able to get their information into what Crucial Conversations call the pool of shared meaning. It's just we want to fill up that pool with all the meaning that we can from us and from those that we're in conversations with. And each of these things, when we go to silence or others go to silence, end up short-circuiting dialogue. And then the other thing is, if people don't go, or we don't go to silence, we find that folks, when they don't feel safe, will go to what we're calling verbal violence. And verbal violence is anything we do to try to push our meaning on others. So now we're not withholding meaning, we're actually pushing what we think and what we feel on others. And here's what it might look like. You could see exaggerating by using absolutes, everyone, always, never, all of those kinds of terms that are just kind of a way of pushing our meaning on others. Labeling and name calling can come in here. Someone who monopolizes the conversation would be an example, early warning sign of verbal violence. Using directive or leading questions to control the conversation. Couple other things, belittling ideas or people would be an example of that, and threatening. And just like going to silence, same kind of thing happens here. We're moving away from dialogue when we do these things. They have a tendency to shut down the good conversation that could be happening. So we learn to monitor and manage safety in crucial conversations training. Just something to think about. What does it look like in our interactions with others? It might be true in terms of the school environment, conversations with administrators and teachers, staff, conversations between teachers or administrators and parents. I certainly see this in IEP meetings where there's a conversation with more than two people. There's a team that's there. And everyone needs to be able to feel comfortable to share what they're thinking, feeling, their ideas, their viewpoints, so that we fill up that pool with shared meaning. But unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. And sometimes in our conversations with others, whether it's just in the professional environment, as I mentioned a moment ago, or maybe even in our personal lives, in our families, our friends, our children, it's very easy to move away from dialogue when we or anyone else does not feel comfortable, and we can go to that silence where we're pulling back, keeping this information to ourselves. No one gets it as a result. And what that means is we end up making maybe not as good decisions because we don't have all the information. Or possibly we see ourselves or others going to that verbal violence where we, again, because we're defensive, we don't feel safe, we don't feel comfortable, we're pushing our meaning, or other people are pushing their meaning, trying to do that in their interaction. It's very easy. I'm sure you've seen it in different areas in your own life. With crucial conversations, each of the concepts and skills that are taught, we start by applying them to ourselves. And then we learn how we can help others get the same benefit that we get by applying these concepts and skills. So monitoring and managing safety is a big part. There are a number of concepts related to that and very practical skills that are taught throughout the Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue course. The third benefit that I think can come from this training, and I'll be honest with you, it was difficult to choose what I would share because there are so many benefits, but I think these are some benefits that you could understand that we'll focus on today. And that is, you learn to understand the power of stories that we tell and that other people tell. And there are just a few things that I put down here. First of all, we all tell stories. We have a story to tell, and others need to hear it. Others have a story that they need to tell, and we need to hear that. Now, where we get into trouble is we don't often realize the second point here that you'll see, that our stories are not the facts. Our stories really are our interpretation, the way we make sense of the facts. The facts are really what we see and hear and what other people see and hear. The stories are the way we frame what we've seen and heard. And we do this as human beings just to make sense of the world around us, to make sense of what we're seeing. In Crucial Conversations training, I'm just bulleting these things to you, but they spend a lot of time in the training helping us, for instance, learn how to separate the facts from the stories. Look at some of the things that, because here's what happens. A lot of times we think that our story is the facts, when really it's just our story. It's our interpretation of the facts. So we learn in Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue how to actually separate out, is this a fact, what I've seen and heard that can be proven by measurement and observation? Or is this my story about what I saw and heard? because that makes a huge difference in the way we share what we're going to share with others. And we spend a lot of time doing that, separating facts from stories. Another thing I want to mention here that to me, it probably has been one of the most powerful aspects of what I've learned from Crucial Conversations and tried to apply to my life. And that is this idea that we see and hear something, those are the facts. We tell ourselves this story, and that's the story, but the story that I tell myself and that someone else tells themselves, that story automatically creates emotions that go with that story. And the reality is those emotions, we act on them. And so in Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue, we learned what's called the path to action, that our actions, what we say and what we do in our conversations, they don't just come out of nowhere. Our actions come from our emotions, and our emotions come directly from our stories that we're telling ourselves, not the facts. And so when we understand that, I mean, there are many different situations where I've been able to look back at my actions and said, I really don't like what I shared there or what I did there. It wasn't something that contributed to dialogue. And then if I trace it back, I can kind of think about what was I feeling when I did that? That's the emotions. And then I can trace back what story have I told myself to create those emotions. And the really great thing, and it's the last bullet here, the good news is we can change our stories. When we understand the difference between facts and stories, and we really nail down, this is the story I'm telling myself, and we see that that story is creating emotions that aren't helping our conversations, that aren't helping us be able to communicate with each other in a way that we can collaborate, that leads to collaboration, because that's what we've got to have to be able to make really good decisions together and work together. When we see that, we can actually change our story. And so a lot of time is spent in Crucial Conversations learning how to do that, how to revisit the stories that we've told ourselves so that we can change those stories, change those emotions, and change the actions that inevitably lead to results. And I needed to mention at the very outset of this, I think it's real important to understand that, yes, Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue is a training in communication, but it's much more than that. It's not just about communication. It's about communicating in a way that helps us be able to get the results that we need and want. Not just us, but helps others be able to get the results that they need and want, because we're able to collaborate in light of this communication that we're going to learn. So very, very important about stories. Now, one thing that I want to just briefly mention to you that's part of this mastering your story section within Crucial Conversations is we learn to watch for what we call 3 clever stories. And they're called clever stories because they're common stories. We use these stories all the time, and so do others around us. But they're not good in this sense. Each one of these stories ends up shutting down the conversation. It shuts down dialogue. And the story itself becomes an excuse that keeps us stuck instead of helping us move forward. So I want to just briefly introduce to you these 3 clever stories that we've all told, and we hear these stories all the time. The first one is just called the victim story. It's not my fault. I mean, how many times have we said that? We've all said that. And we hear people that say that in different ways. Basically, this isn't my fault. That's one of the clever stories. Another clever story, if you flip, it's like the flip side of the victim story, the flip side of the coin, and it's called the villain story. It's not my fault. This story is, it's all your fault. And these stories, we tell them and we hear these all the time. I do want to mention that these stories are, again, they're flip sides of the same coin. So when someone's telling, maybe you're telling a villain story about someone, it's all their fault. It's the parents' fault. It's the school's fault. It's the State Department's fault, whoever it is. We're also, at the same time, maybe a little bit smaller in volume, we're also saying it's not my fault. And the same way, when we tell the victim story that I just mentioned, that it's not my fault, what are we also saying in maybe a smaller tone? We're saying it's somebody else's fault. And so these stories are very closely related. The third clever story is called the helpless story. And it's simply, what else can I do? There's nothing else I can do. There's no action that I could take to be able to move forward. And we hear these stories when someone is talking about a situation and a problem that needs to be addressed. And maybe we just say, well, that's not our job. That's somebody else's job. That's their fault. It's the process, or it could be a number of different things. But this story, just like the other stories, ends up being an excuse, and it literally keeps us stuck, shutting down dialogue. Remember, dialogue is the big goal, filling up that pool with shared meaning. So with each of these stories, and I just, mentioned here, to think about, what do these clever stories look like in your interactions with others? Maybe in the school setting, in the conversations between administrators and teachers, teachers and staff, teachers or administrators and parents, or in the IEP meetings that you possibly participate in. What are the stories of, it's not my fault, it's all your fault, what else can we do? What do they sound like? I'm sure you hear them. One of the things that happens when folks have received this part of the training in the Crucial Conversations with Mastering Dialogue class is you go back right away and you start catching yourself when you are kind of telling a clever story. You also begin to notice them when other people are telling these stories. And in the training, Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue, we actually learn not only those concepts, but we learn skills to learn how to change and how to eliminate, transform those clever stories in such a way that we'll be able to get to dialogue. So this is, I think, a real benefit in professional interactions, personal interactions for school districts and families. The fourth benefit is that in the training, we learn to value and build mutual respect. Mutual respect is such an important thing. And I've got just a couple quotes here that I think could help me just share this with you. John Maxwell said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So mutual respect is all about you feel that I care about you and vice versa. And we have to have that in our interactions for them to be effective. But people don't care how much you know about whatever the subject is until they know how much you care about them. And then another quote that I think is really helpful: everyone longs to be heard. That's why really listening to others may be the greatest way that we demonstrate that we care. Maybe the greatest way that we can demonstrate we care and build mutual respect is by learning how to listen to others. And I can tell you that Crucial Conversations training, it's recently been updated. And there's a tremendous section in the training now on learning how to improve the way that we listen to others. Because, when we're listening to others in a conversation, it's kind of human nature to be listening for an answer, right? We've got, our brains are working while we're listening. We're trying to come up with the answer so that we can respond. But the kind of listening that we're going to learn how to do in Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue is not listening to answer or listening to build our argument, but listening to understand. to understand what the other person is saying, to have a better understanding of their viewpoint, a better understanding of where they're coming from, their thought process. Because when we listen like that, we actually can really change the environment to where we'll be able to have a conversation that gets us to dialogue and can help increase collaboration. This morning, I was talking with Lucy Croblin. She's one of our certified trainers. She's been training Crucial Conversations for a long time. And she was just saying, talking with me and echoing the importance of really that principle of learning to listen to understand. Because it's really only as we're all listening to each other and everyone is comfortable enough and learns how to share what they need to say in a way that others can hear, understand, and respond to. It's only when we're all listening like that that we really can get to dialogue. So listening is a big part of this, and it's part of building mutual respect. And sometimes mutual respect is really at risk. We learn that in Crucial Conversations training. That can be part of people not feeling safe. And so we actually learn how to rebuild, how to build that mutual respect in. And listening is a big part of it. One other quote that's my favorite, it's directly out of Crucial Conversations, is respect is like air. You don't notice it until it's not there. And then it's all you notice. And I see that a lot of times in meetings when the mutual respect is not there. And sometimes when the parties in a conversation maybe have negative feelings toward each other, or possibly they either dislike or possibly distrust each other. You don't have mutual respect there. And then it's very hard to get past that kind of atmosphere in the room. So I like to say, what's the air like in the room, in the conversations that you're having, whether they're one-on-one or whether it's an entire team? Because until this is clarified, until the air is right, until mutual respect is part of that conversation, it's going to be really difficult to hear, understand, respond to each other, get to dialogue, and actually be able to work together to collaborate. That's where we're going, and mutual respect is a big, big part of that. One other thing that I want to just mention, when we go along, we're talking about building mutual respect. One of the things that tears down mutual respect is misunderstandings between the parties in our conversation. And often when a misunderstanding takes place, what that means is if I'm misunderstood, someone is not understanding my story. Someone is, and basically it involves the way they're looking at my intent in what I'm sharing. And so we really spend a good bit of time in the training learning how to clear up misunderstandings. Because if we don't clear up misunderstandings when we see them happening, then the resulting continual conversation that goes on is built on misunderstandings, and it just leads to more and more hurt, more and more distrust. So we've got to learn how to do something. And in Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue, we learn how to contrast by using what is called a don't do statement. And I'll just share it with you today, but I can tell you right now that you'll want to get into the training, because in the training, we spend a lot of time on this concept and this skill, and we practice together in groups using this. But let me share it with you. The don't do contrasting statement, the don't side of it is the first part. And it basically addresses where we see that our intentions have been misunderstood. And it's very simple, very short, but it's simply, I don't mean to imply this. The other side of it then is, I do mean to say this, or I didn't mean to suggest this. That's the don't side. The do side is, I do mean to offer, I do want to offer this suggestion. I mean, this is something, to be honest with you, that we actually, all of us do this without even thinking about it. We probably do it quite often because it's very, very easy to be misunderstood. The longer I live, The more time I spend as a mediator and facilitator, I see in myself and I see with others that, communication, it can be difficult. It's very easy to be misunderstood. And so this is a skill that we learn. We use this, though, naturally. We just have never put a name on it. In Crucial Conversations, we're going to put a name on it and we're going to practice it. And really, it'll be a tool that we'll use in our toolkit. But I can think of, even a recent time, my wife and I were having a conversation about where we're going in terms of getting away. We love to get away. We live in OKC. We like to get out of town. And we were talking about going to a particular location. And I could just tell as we were talking, and I was suggesting a different date than we had originally been talking about. But I could tell that there was a misunderstanding building. And I think that maybe my wife was thinking that I didn't really want to get away. And that wasn't my intent. But when I saw that, I said something to the effect that, oh, I didn't mean to imply that I don't want to go out of town with you and get away, because I absolutely did. But what I am suggesting is maybe there's a better date than the date we were originally looking at. I mean, you can see it's not a really long thing. I didn't mean to imply I don't want to get away. I do what I was trying to do is just suggest that maybe there's a better time to get away. Can we look at that? That's clearing up a misunderstanding. And that's a really important thing that we learn to do that can help us in our professional conversations between schools and families, can help us in IEP team meetings, and can help us in our personal life with our spouse or with our friends or with our children. Just very practical, but we spend some real time on this so we can sharpen that tool. Benefit number 5, and this is the last benefit that I'm going to share with you, is really we learn to keep the main thing the main thing. And the main thing is having a conversation where we can get to dialogue and stay in dialogue so that we can actually then be able to collaborate. Communicating with the goal of collaborating. Why? So that we can achieve the result that we want and that we need through our interactions. And what that often involves is, when we think about the main thing, is really just taking some time to think, what do I really want? And the word really is the most important word in that, because if we're honest, sometimes when we're in a conversation and it's really difficult and it's become crucial because they're opposing opinions, they're high stakes, there's strong emotions. Sometimes things are said to where we don't feel comfortable responding. And what we want in that moment possibly is to avoid that conversation, maybe to shut that person down. What we want may not really be beneficial, is what I'm saying. So in Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue, we really spend some time at the beginning and then all the way through the course talking about good intent. That is, what do I really want? Because what I may in the moment want to shut someone down. I may want to win. I may want to be right. But what I really want is something different. And so we ask ourselves, before we even begin a conversation, what do we really want for ourselves, for the organization, for the relationships that are here? What do we really want? Because when we get clear about that, and we really want to get to dialogue, we really want to be able to work together and collaborate. When we get clear on that, it makes all the difference in our conversation. So we learn how to look at that up front. We learn how to ask ourselves that when we're in a conversation, because again, what I want in the moment may not be what I really want for myself and others in the organization. So we're asking that all the way through. So I've just shared a few benefits. We could look at so many more benefits of Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue. But what I want you to realize is, when you go through this training, you can begin to be the difference in creating a better conversation, better interaction that does result in dialogue. Because it really starts with you. It starts with me. We can be the difference. Before we end, the next part of this presentation is I want to spend just a little bit of time with you. Well, let me ask you right here. I don't see any questions up right now, so I was going to address any questions you might have. I do want to say to you, I'm going to put my contact information up at the end. And if you do have any questions after watching this webinar, or when you later on today or another time, please feel free to reach out to me, because I would love to help you. I mean, we not only provide Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue training, but we also want to be available and help folks after they've been through the training. So that applies to each one of you if you have a question. What I want to do right now, though, is actually stop sharing this and share something else with you that I think could help you moving forward when you think about Crucial Conversations. So this is our website. It's okserc.org is our website, okserc.org. And I want you to realize that on this website, it's a pretty simple website. There aren't lots of menus, but there are several. And this first one, Programs and Services, I want you to notice this fourth line down, Stakeholder Training. Those are the trainings that we provide. And we continue to add to these as we do additional trainings. But when you click on this, okserc.org, going to Programs and Services, Stakeholder Training, you arrive at the page that shares just close to the top, you'll find Crucial Conversations training. And the reason I'm bringing this up to you right now is I want to just focus on a couple of things. First of all, I want to talk about the courses that we're offering now. Crucial Learning, which is the name of the company that has developed Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue, has updated their materials and has an in-person format as well as a virtual format for this training. And at SERC, we offer both of those formats. The in-person format, if you notice here, it's a 2-day training, and those trainings can be back-to-back, Thursday and Friday in a week. They could be one training this week, one training later in the week. It could be one training this week and the next training next week. We try not to let too much time be between the sessions so that you don't lose momentum with the information you're learning, but we can be flexible. And those 2-day in-person classes we can offer to school districts. If your district is interested in scheduling a training, we like to separate out different groups of people within the school district setting just because of the nature of the conversations we have. So we do separate classes for administrators, for special ed directors. We're going to be scheduling classes. We can do classes and schedule if you have a group of teachers. And the maximum number of folks that we can have in a class is 20 people. So if you're in a school district and you say, hey, we'd be interested in hosting a Crucial Conversations training for our administrators. We have 10 administrators or 20 administrators as the max, or our teachers or our special ed staff. We can do that. We can help you. And what I'm going to ask you to do is you're going to have my contact information at the end. Reach out to me and we can talk about that. We can find a time. We aren't scheduling any additional classes until most likely it would be the summer or early fall, because we have a lot of classes that are already scheduled right now. So you can schedule a class. If you're interested in that, just contact me. The other thing that we're doing, and if you're interested in the virtual format, I meant to mention what's different about the virtual format is that it has 5 2.5-hour long sessions. And it's the same material, but it's just reformatted for the virtual training. And we do that through Zoom. And you get a learning guide, just like folks that are taking the in-person training, you'll get a digital learning guide. And we are very flexible in the way that we schedule those. We can do those, two sessions in a week and 3 the next week. We can do 1, each week, but there are 5 2.5-hour long sessions. I want you to notice here on this page, stakeholder training page, that I've included a link to the in-person agenda where you can see how the 2 days are scheduled out. Basically, the training is from 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. over 2 days. That agenda will show you exactly how the different concepts and skills, the topics through the 2 days. I also included a Crucial Conversations virtual training agenda, and that shows you the 5 different 2.5-hour sections, what's included. And all you need to do is reach out to us. That information is right here. Rob Keiter at rob.keiter@okstate.edu or my direct line. You can reach out and we can talk about scheduling a class. Something new that we're doing just this year is we're actually scheduling courses in advance. And we put these classes, I'm constantly updating these lists of the classes that are coming up. This first one, Special Ed Directors, we did last week. That was an in-person class. I'm calling it a regional class because it was at Middale Technology Center, and anyone could register for that class and come to that in-person class. That's over. We're right now training a Sooner Start. It's a virtual training that's happening on Tuesdays, and that class has already started. We have a parent advocate class that's happening in the evenings that's closed. We have a special ed directors class that's a Tulsa regional class. That class is full, and it starts tomorrow, actually, in Jenks at the Sharp Center. We have another parents class for parents and advocates that is a regional OKC class that's going to be at Middale. That training is coming up February 1st and 2nd, and it is open for registration right as of today. So anytime a class is open, you'll see this link that says click here to register for the class, and you register through the Microsoft Forms form that's been created, and it lets us know, and we send you a confirmation and what you need, the logistics you need to get ready for the training. There's an administrator's OKC regional class coming up the end of February, beginning of March, that is full right now. And there also is a administrator's class, Tulsa regional, that's going to be at the Sharp Center at Jenks Public Schools the end of March. That class is still open for registration as of today, January 18th. I'm updating this schedule of classes that are just open for folks to register. School district personnel, you can see the different areas, special ed directors, administrators. We don't have any teachers regional classes scheduled, but we're looking at doing that at sometime, whether it's in the summer or whether it's in the fall. And those will be up here on the list. And then we'll always be having classes for parents and advocates. And some will be in person and you'll register for that. Some will be virtual. And so we're trying to make this simple. We're trying to have one place where when you want to know what's going on with Crucial Conversations, what's open, you can always go to okserc.org, the stakeholder training page, scroll right down and see what's going on. So we've tried to make that a little bit more user-friendly for everyone. But that's what's happening right now. We would love to hear from any of you regarding an interest in scheduling a class, because that's what we want to do. We want to help school districts. I just mentioned here, join us in Crucial Conversations training, and there's that link again. You could go directly to that link, or you can simply just go to the homepage, okserc.org, and find stakeholder training in that menu, and then go from there. And I really hope, just tried to share a few things with you that maybe encapsulate some benefits, but there, without a doubt, is tremendous benefit in taking this training for anyone involved in the school setting, and also for families, for parents, for advocates, because we all want to improve our interactions in such a way that we can get to dialogue, we can actually collaborate and work together. Please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me through my email address that you see here. I'm also putting this PDF of the presentation. It's in the chat right now, but it will be up on our website so that you can go to this if you want to. Also, the PowerPoint, that information will be there. But please reach out to me or reach out to our office. Our general office number is there as well, 888-267-0028. But you can reach out directly to me because I'll be the one working with you to try to schedule a class or answer any questions about the classes that are taking place. So I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us, and then also mention that next month, February 15th will be the third Wednesday in February. It will be the next Wisdom Wednesday webinar, and the Oklahoma State University Bridge Center will be doing a great presentation on how to read an evaluation. And so I hope you'll be able to join us for that. We promote those trainings on our, we promote them on Facebook, but I'm going to go off of this slide one more time just to try to help you. I'm going to screen share the website again and just show you this, that, let's see if I can get this here. I think this is what I want to share. I want you to see once again that when you go to our website, let's let this page refresh. When you go to our website, I just showed you that under programs and services, you have stakeholder training. That's where you can learn about crucial conversations. But also, we have a page at the very bottom of this menu for Wisdom Wednesday monthly webinars. And I'll be updating this soon. This shows you all of the webinars that we've had so far. And under each webinar that's already taken place, there's a transcript, a word transcript that you can get. You also can watch that webinar, that video. In some cases, we actually have the PowerPoint presentation there. Like you see this one, our last webinar on executive function last month with Dr. Kaylin Cootie, which was a great webinar. You can see the transcript is there, the presentation PDF is there, and you can watch the video. Next week, I'll be updating this webinar, which is today's. I'll be including the transcript, the presentation, and the video for you to watch. And the reason I'm directing you to this page is you may want to wait until you see a promotion from the SERC Facebook page, but you don't have to. You can go to this page, Wisdom Wednesday webinars, and the next webinar that's open for registration will be here. So I'll be putting up February's webinar later today so that will be here and you can start registering for next month. And we hope you'll pass the word on too, just regarding the Wisdom Wednesday webinar, which is free. And I absolutely need to mention to you, it's on the webpage, but the Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue training, it's a very expensive training. However, it is offered at no charge to school districts, to parents and advocates through our partnership with the State Department of Education. So that's something that you'll really want to take advantage of that we're offering at this time. So thank you again for joining us for this webinar, January 18th webinar. I hope that you'll register for the next webinar taking place February 15th. On how to read an evaluation by the Oklahoma State University Bridge Center, and join us for future webinars. Please reach out to me with any questions you have or any interest in scheduling a Crucial Conversations for Mastering Dialogue. So thank you. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and we look forward to being back with you again next month. Goodbye.